Hey Bears fans, second video of the day because that's what we do. We bring you guys the latest Bears news and rumors, and when there's big storylines that come out, we cover them here on this channel. So I have a challenge for you guys. Can we get to 32,000 subscribers before week 1? Just over 10 days, just over 500 subs away. We're at 31,413. Hit that sub button if you haven't. If you love the Bears, we cover them on a daily basis. Share that link below with a friend. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. Tons of stuff coming up, including the practice squad signing so far and some unfortunate news we'll discuss right now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. We kick off today's show with some unfortunate breaking news. The Bears have cut preseason darling Rodney Adams, and I kind of wondered earlier if this could happen after the Bears signed Breshad Perriman and Nsimba, and that is the corresponding move because they did cut Teven Jenkins, or not cut, they put Teven Jenkins in Danny Trevathan on IR, which cleared 2 of the 3 spots, but they needed 1 more, and now they've cut Rodney Adams, which really stinks, right? Because Rodney Adams was fantastic in the preseason. He was great in training camp, and quite frankly, I thought he had earned a roster spot with the Chicago Bears. But when you add Breshad Perriman, who's proven more in the NFL, and when you add Nsimba to be your punt returner, Rodney Adams doesn't give you much on special teams. You know, he's the oddball out. This is a bummer. I really hate this for Rodney Adams because it's been a great story. This guy was retired. He was out of the NFL, gives it one more try, balls out, goes from off the radar to making the initial 53-man roster, and now he hits waivers, which really, really stinks. Hopefully he returns on the practice squad. I think he will, but pretty disappointing for him. So this is how the wide receiver depth chart sits now. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, of course. I think your next 3, Marquise Goodwin, Damiere Byrd, Breshad Perriman, is really however you want to look at it. I think any of those 3, I think a lot of those guys will just rotate in and out. Nsimba, we'll see if he plays some of the offense, but really he's just your return man. But now Rodney Adams goes to the waiver wire, and again, hopefully he returns on the practice squad. But even if he does, man, this is just the classic life isn't fair scenario, right? Like, he did nothing wrong. He did everything right, but the Bears had to make a decision. Now, I would have cut J.P. Holtz, the 5th tight end, but the Bears need 5 tight ends for some damn reason, but that's neither here nor there. How upset are you with Rodney Adams getting cut? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being, who cares? I don't care about Rodney Adams. 10 being, worst decision of any GM in the history of the sport. Obviously, it's not that, but I'm like a 7. I mean, I'm upset. This stinks for him. I'm more emotionally upset for Rodney because he really busted it this preseason to make this roster, and now obviously his future is a little bit uncertain. Let's take a look now at the initial Bears practice squad. Chicago has signed 13 players, which means 3 spots are open, 16-man practice squad for the 2nd straight year. Again, Rodney Adams will likely fill one of those 3 spots if he clears waivers. But here are the 13 guys they've signed so far. We'll go offense to defense. Artavis Pierce, the running back, 2nd-year player out of Oregon State, kind of bounced from the practice squad to the active roster in and out last year. He returned to the practice squad, didn't make the 53-man. I like him. He's got some upside, some big playability. I think he has value on the Bears practice squad. Ryan Nall, he returns, former preseason legend. Fullback, running back hybrid, has some special teams ability as well, was on the active roster a year ago, but out the Bears did a good job of upgrading at running back. Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert are better than Artavis Pierce and Ryan Nall, so those guys made the active roster. These guys don't. They return to the practice squad. We'll see if at some point they get called up to the active roster. Who is the better player out of these 2 running backs? Type AP for Artavis Pierce, type RN for Ryan Nall. I think Pierce is the better back, but Nall is more versatile and brings more to the table. Get your votes in, AP, or you can type RN for Ryan Nall. Yes, Dazz Newsome is back. I was a little worried he'd get claimed off waivers, but he didn't. So he returns, and now the Bears can breathe a little bit. They can continue to develop this kid. Remember, he missed some valuable time with that broken collarbone he suffered during Bears rookie minicamp. So he's back. I'm pumped about it because I think this guy has real ability to be a playmaker down the stretch or in the future. The Bears only have 1 player under contract at wide receiver after this year. That's Darnell Mooney. Everyone else is a free agent. So maybe Dazz Newsome is a guy that's on this roster a year from now, maybe a starting slot receiver. I think he's got that potential, and I think he can be your long-term answer at punt return. Clearly, the Bears weren't comfortable enough to make him that role right away, which is why they signed Nsimba Webster, but I'm glad that Dazz is back and he can continue to develop within this offense. If you're as excited as I am to have Dazz Newsome back, type me in the comments because, hey, you drafted him in the 6th round. He's explosive. He's got some upside. So type me if you're excited to have Dazz Newsome back. Isaiah Coulter, a guy the Bears added late in training camp, late in the preseason, got cut, but does return to the practice squad. 5th-round pick from just a year ago. Has some upside as a speedy weapon at 6'2", 200. Has some special teams ability as well. Like Newsome, you can continue to develop this kid and see if he turns into something. Jon'Vea Johnson had a great camp. Didn't do much during the actual preseason games. He returns to the practice squad. He gets open. He's got some drop issues, a fumbling problem as well. Muffed that punt in the first preseason game. I knew that was really going to do him in terms of trying to make the 53-man, but I think he's got enough ability to place him on the practice squad, which the Bears obviously did. Now, today's show is sponsored by our good friends over at BetUS, the best sports betting sportsbook out there, because there is just deals for days. And if you haven't gotten going with BetUS, here's what you do. Put down $100 at chatsports.com/Bears. Got to use that link, and then plug in our promo code BEARDOWN, all one word. You put in $100, they're going to give you $125 for free, and you can go bet on Week 1. Bears versus the Rams. The total over/under between the two teams is 45. Rams 7-point favorites at home. Primetime Andy Dalton's not that great. I'm actually leaning Rams early on in this one. Put your money where your mouth is. Chatsports.com/Bears. Use our promo code BEARDOWN. If you have any questions, you, of course, can DM me on Twitter at HGramNFL. Let's keep it rolling with the Bears practice squad for now. Eiselen, the second-year player out of Yale, undrafted free agent. He returns onto the practice squad as well. Arlington Hambright, 7th-round pick from last year, was in and out of the active roster. Doesn't make the 53-man. Lachavious Simmons did, but Hambright does return to the practice squad. We're going to call this big fella AA because he's just a rammering truck at nose tackle, 6'4", 320 pounds. Played in a couple of games last year for the Houston Texans. Only 24 years old. Comes out of small school West Georgia. Bears love themselves some nose tackles, so that's kind of the storyline there. And with Mike Pennell being an injury buyout type of guy, he's now been cut loose. AA here can fill that role. Who is your favorite player on the Bears? Practice squad, active roster, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and shout them out in the comments. Is it Justin Fields? Is it Khalil Mack? Is it Andy Dalton? Is it someone else? Let me know. Who is your favorite player on the Bears? I want to read them here in the comments. Keep it rolling here. Charles Snowden, the rookie, undrafted rookie out of Virginia. I think he was on the roster bubble, didn't make the cut, but he does return to the practice squad. I like his upside at 6'6", 240 pounds. I really think he has potential. I think Charles Snowden down the road can be a guy that's on your active roster and in your pass rush rotation. I don't know if he'll ever be a full-time starter or anything like that, but the upside is there. I'm glad he's still in the mix here. Thought he had a chance to make the roster. He obviously did not, but he does return to the practice squad. Sam Kamara, the undrafted rookie out of Stony Brook, 6'2", 275, kind of a outside linebacker, defensive end type of flexible guy there. We'll see what his future holds. Obviously, coming out of a small school, he's still pretty raw. Thomas Graham Jr., like Dazz Newsome, was a 6th-round draft pick, so glad to see him back. I think he's got some ball skills. He's got some upside. Certainly gave up some plays in the preseason, but I'm glad to see the Bears will still continue to develop him. Teez Tabor, what a career this guy has had. Was a 2nd-round pick 4 years ago. He's bounced around like Josh Johnson, but now he sticks around with the Bears on the practice squad, so clearly they see something there out of Tabor. And then the Bears are doing something pretty smart with all the COVID protocols and everything. And, I mean, we just saw Tyrann Mathieu test positive for COVID. They're keeping Brian Johnson, the rookie kicker out of Virginia Tech, was booming them in the preseason. So if Cairo Santos gets hurt, enters the COVID protocols, whatever the case may be, you got a backup in Brian Johnson, who I think is a pretty darn good kicker. So I actually like that move for the Chicago Bears. Who is your favorite addition to the practice squad? I want to hear it from you guys down in the comments. We'll debate in the comments section, so don't miss out on any of that. Give me your favorite addition, and then we are going to recap the Bears practice squad so far. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. Let's take a look at the Bears practice squad signings so far, kind of in rapid fire mode. Offense to defense here. Artavis Pierce, Ryan Nall, a couple of running backs that were on the team last year. They returned this year on the practice squad. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace and company did a good job of upgrading that position on the active roster. Dazz Newsome, 6th-round pick, cleared waivers, returns to the practice squad. Very happy about that one. A couple more receivers here. Isaiah Coulter, 5th-round pick from last year. Jon'Vea Johnson, who's bounced around quite a bit. They both stick around on the practice squad. Dieter Eiselen, a 2020 undrafted free agent out of Yale. He returns as well. Very, very happy, especially about the Dazz Newsome return. Okay, a couple more guys here. Arlington Hambright, offensive lineman, in his second year. 7th-round pick from last year. Didn't make the 53-man, but he did return on the practice squad this year. Double A is what we're calling him here at Chicago Bears Now. He's been poached to the practice squad at defensive tackle, 6'4", 320 pounds out of West Georgia. And then Charles Snowden, the undrafted rookie out of Virginia. Thought he might make the 53-man, does not, but he does return to the practice squad. Then a few more guys here. Sam Kamara, the undrafted free agent out of Stony Brook. He's kind of an outside linebacker, defensive end flex guy. Thomas Graham Jr., the 6th-round rookie out of Oregon. He also returns with Dazz Newsome, which is a great, great thing. Teez Tabor, the defensive back, former 2nd-round pick, and then Brian Johnson, a backup kicker, which I think is smart with all the COVID protocols in place this year. If something happens to Cairo Santos, the Bears have someone ready to go. And now, you probably noticed that's only 13 players, which means the Bears still have 3 spots to fill on the practice squad. So stay tuned for that, as the Chicago Bears will likely add another player. I believe Rodney Adams will return on the practice squad as well, so stay tuned for that, as he was released by the Chicago Bears. And let us know in the comments before we sign off. Do you want the Bears to sign Rodney Adams to the practice squad? Type Y for yes, type in for no, and we'll see you next time here on Chicago Bears Now.